We will run the same scenario again and again and check what will happen. So if I'll execute now, voila. In the first attempt, we found that number of prisoner found the number is 10. So if we will look closely over here, let me copy this one and try to understand what has just happened. I'll replace over here and I'll format. So prisoner number 1 went and opened the box, first box, that redirects him to 6. He went to 6, opened the box, redirect to 9. He went to 9, redirect it to 10. He 10 to 10, 10 redirected it to 7. And when he comes to 7, it redirected back to him 1. So prisoner number 1 found his number. So how many box did he open? Like 1, 6th one is second, 2, 9th one is 3, 10th one is 4, and 7th one is 5. In the 5th box, he found his number, that is half. So similarly, if you can pause the video and iterate, you can see that all the prisoner will find their number. So we will run the same code again and check what will happen this time when the room setup will be changed. So number of prisoner found the number is 2. So I'll copy this code and leave it as a task for you guys to look back here and do the try run and check. You can pause the video here and check which two prisoner found their number. And again, let me run the same scenario for the third time. Let me run the same scenario for the third time and see what will happen. So now you see number of prisoner found the number. So again, I'm leaving this one for you guys. I'll just copy paste this one. Feel free to pause the video and verify the output. Fine. So now that we have created this one, so now like manually I'm doing iterating. Right, manually I have to execute the scenario again and again to verify. So let me create the third method that which I have told you in the very beginning that I'm going to create to check for the probability. So now I will run the third, I will create one more method, and this will be again a public void, and I'll say that this method name is determine probability ability, right? So this method will determine our probability, that is this will prove us the main idea of creating this video, whether we are getting 30% on an average. So if I run this scenario manually 100 times, so 30 times I will get the number of prisoner found their number as 10. That is the main idea using the strategy. So this one I am not going to run obviously for 100 times. So I'll just write a code to run on behalf of me the same scenarios 100 times. So for that I will write some code. Let me check what I have written previously. Okay, so I will create one map. This map will be again of integer, comma, integer, and I will call it as a scenario report. Scenario report. I'll tell you why. In a moment, new map of integer, comma, integer. Yeah, so what will happen is this scenario report, it is again a map. So this map will contain key is the number of the scenario run. Like suppose if I'll run the scenario for let's say 5 times, so it will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the key side, and the values will be the number of prisoner found their number. So suppose when we saw that in the video previously, like for the first time I executed, we got the number of prisoner found number is 10. Second time it was 2. Third time it was 4. So this scenario report will contain 1 equals to 10, 2 equals to 4, 3 equals to 2, 4 equals to 0, and so on. So this is going to be our scenario report. Okay. So now I will write one loop Okay, let me and write this loop. I'll call this integer. Again, I'll call it as index equals to 1. And this is the number of times I want to run this scenario. Okay, index is less than equals to. So for probability percentage, I will run the same scenario 100 times. Okay, and I will increment it with 1. Fine, and then so what we can do is when this scenario will be executed, the second method, we will take the output of this scenario as the number of prisoner found their number. So whether it be 10, 4, 2, whatever it will be, so that we can store the same data here in the scenario report. So I'm going to change the return type to integer here, and I'm going to return this number of prisoner found their number, so that now we can, instead of just printing that one, we can have that in our method and we can store that thing. So now this particular data will come. So if I will run this method inside the for loop, let's say run scenario. Okay, and I'll suppose pass 10 prisoners for now. So this will give me an output which will be again an integer, right? So I want to store that integer. So first I will define one integer. Let's say I'll define it as scenario outcome, right? That makes sense. Scenario outcome. This scenario outcome will be the output of this run scenario. So whatever the number of prisoner found their number will store over here, right? And then what we can do is we can store that in our report. Scenario report dot put the number of the times the scenario is running. Fine. And this, what is the outcome for that particular incident. Now we have that stored that one, and since we are hard coded this number of prisoner equals to 10, again I'll define one more integer. I'll call it as an integer. That will be our probability. I'll say probability. I'll make it as 0 for now. So if I'll say that scenario outcome, if scenario outcome equals to number of prisoner, right? That means for the first scenario when we got 10, so that was a success. For the second scenario when the outcome was 4, that is not equals to 10, that is a failure. The third time it is failure. So when this code will run 100 times, so 30 times on an average scenario outcome will be equals to 10. Okay, so if 30 times the number of times it is happening, we will increment this probability. So this probability will define us, will tell us what is the actual rate. And if it is around on average 30, so we can say that whatever the strategy provided by that particular scientist is true. If it is not, then that is what we are looking for, right? So I'll put system debug and I'll print this probability variable. We can print the probability in other way also by iterating through this scenario report, but I'm trying to keep it as simple. Okay, so for now, so now instead of using the run scenario method, I will use determine probability method, right? And this method doesn't take an input for now. We will enhance the code later on, and I'll just execute this one. So what will happen is it will come here, run this scenario for 100 times. Each time it is running the scenario, passing the 10 as the number of prisoner. We can make it dynamic, the number of prisoner in later on stage. So it will execute, this run scenario will execute with number of prisoners as 10,